Good evening, all my student guests and parents. I welcome you all to this exclusive session on the students who would want to go to Canada for their higher studies or would want to, have an option of studying abroad. Before I welcome formally my guests for the evening, I would request my backend team to kindly have the presentation run so that we know under whose umbrella we are holding this session. And that's Punjabi Chamber of Commerce.
Sure.
The tagline, unity is strength. And today's session is being taken by Anupma Sharma. And also I have with her two students who would be sharing their insights, that is Ms. Guneet Kaur and Shan Bhardwaj. I would be introducing them formally. Could we move to the next slide, please?
Ma'am, just a second. I think so there's some connectivity problem from my end.
Okay, no problem. I'll take over. So since we generally in our webinars, we have these issues, technical things coming up, hiccups. So we'll go beyond that. And I would quickly introduce myself to the students and guests here. I'm an academician. I'm a teacher for last 27 years. I've been working with students. I have my own venture by the name of Inspire, and I am Mumbai chapter co-chair. And also I'm on the board of directors for Punjabi Chamber of Commerce. I'm very proud to introduce myself. At the same time, when I talk of Punjabi Chamber of Commerce, for sure, it's got 17 chapters across the globe in 4 continents, and we are expanding. Since the pandemic has, hit us, we were all connected virtually. But now, since things are opening up, we have started our meetings, meeting each one of us, physically in real life. But I'm glad that, we have our guests who are going to, enlighten us. They are going to share their insights to the students who are eagerly awaiting to hear them. Before I go on and open the floor, I would like to introduce Anupma Sharma, and her name on the on the wall writes Anu. So Anupma, if you don't mind, can I call you by name Anu? If
Absolutely.
You're comfortable with that?
Absolutely.
All right, super. So Anu has been an advocate and she's been a counselor. She's doing a great job in counseling students, helping them with all kind of legalities that they may face. But I would like to, hear more from her rather than me, putting those words. For sure, I have 2 students accompanying her. They would also be sharing their insights. Without wasting much of the time, there are 2 requests that I have to make. First is kindly mute yourself. The second is put your questions into the chat box or into the question answer box that you have. And at the end of the session, we would request each one of you to switch on your cameras for a nice group picture together and with smiling faces, of course. So Anupma, over to you, and I go on mute.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Harpreet ji. I wanted to actually just do a little introduction as well. So I'm also on the board of Punjabi Chamber of Commerce here in Toronto. And this presentation, I'd like to actually, excuse me, really send to heartfelt thanks to the Global Youth Squad of PCC for putting this together. So I'm not sure, Anshu, if if you're still having technical issues. Otherwise, I'll just pull up my...
No, if you want, you can also pull up, and even I have given you the rights, you can share your screen.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Okay, so first I actually wanted to introduce Guneet and Sean. I'm not sure if you can pull them up because we've got Sean there. Sean, there you go. And Guneet. I'm not sure if Guneet's on. Do we have her? Okay, so what I'll do is I will actually introduce Guneet first. And Guneet is actually, Guneet and Sean are both volunteers with Suno. And I'll tell everyone a little bit about who Suno is. But I'd like to actually introduce Guneet first. So Guneet Kaur is a mental health and addictions worker. She's graduated from Sir Sanford Fleming College in Peterborough, Ontario, with a master's in applied psychology from Chennai. And she's currently a case manager in mental health for teens and parents at the Punjabi Punjabi Community Health Services. Thank you, Guneet. And Sean is actually a Canadian-born student who is an advocate and a Suno volunteer, helping students and providing them a perspective of what a domestic student faces here. So thank you, Sean. So what is Suno? Suno is a nonprofit that was started in 2019 to help and support international students with the issues that they face once they arrive here in Canada. This webinar is a part of a series to provide awareness and support Indian international students and their family, excuse me, whether they have started the process and are awaiting approval or thinking about coming to Canada. This webinar will help them address some of the questions and provide much needed information and resources. We have 3 speakers, myself, Guneet, and Sean. Each of us will share our journey. So this webinar we have labeled, so the Global Youth Squad came up with this fantastic idea. Let's talk about the 3 R's. And the first R is around responsibility. So the first question that we have is, how do the students make progress towards completing their programs? So in between this webinar, I'm going to be asking Sean and Guneet to add their input, because I think it's important that the students hear a student's perspective on this. So before the students arrive in Canada, they're given basic information about how to survive day to day. They are provided information only about school and school-related topics. They are given minimal tool, contacts, and referrals, and left to fend them for themselves once they arrive. So I think this is really important. You know, I'll be providing some tips later on in the presentation, but if the students are thinking about coming to Canada, it would be great to develop some life skills on how they can cope once they come to Canada. Because essentially, you know, they're going to be here without their family, and it would be good to start implementing those skills prior to coming here. So how can we help students' path to graduating become smoother? So start to teach the student time management skills. I know that the students yourselves are already doing this, and it's going to be important to figure out how to balance school life, family life, friends, and, you know, if you're doing sporting activities or you have hobbies, how are you going to balance all of that before you come to Canada? So there's going to be a lot of shocks once you come to Canada. It's a culture shock. Right now it's snowing outside. So for the first time, I think it'd be the first time you'd be seeing snow once you come here. But this is to help ease the transition from when you come to Canada. So figuring out the balance between everything. How are you going to cope? How are you going to manage all of that? Okay, so the students should get to know a little about the do's and don'ts of the education system here in Canada. For instance, what is plagiarism? What are the consequences if you do this in college or university? So I'm going to ask Guneet to share her experience about when she got to college here in Canada. So I'm not sure if Guneet is unmuted, if you can unmute her.
Anshu, could you please add her to the panelist list?
Yeah, just adding. Give me a time. There is a technical issue with the Anshu. I'm searching.
So while we're waiting for Guneet, Sean, how about you kind of mention what your experience is? What is plagiarism for a lot of the students that have never heard that word before?
Oh, you can hear me. Is that fine?
Yeah.
Plagiarism is where you blatantly copy off maybe an online source or another student or a past student in as education institution. So this is not your own work. Therefore, you can be penalized, as well as there will be lots of consequences towards your actions. So I think in some courses or most courses in university, it's about 5% of your work. If it's plagiarized, then they will terminate it, give you a 0, and then you can face expulsion from your institution. So that's all your financial responsibilities gone out the window, all because you have decided to cheat, almost cheat, because you are copying off another source.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much for that, Sean. Guneet? Hi.
Hello everybody. Finally, I see everybody here now. Am I echoing or is it just me?
You're echoing.
I am not sure why.
See, as I mentioned, it's snowing outside, so
It
everyone can see. So,
Right.
so Guneet, did you want to talk a little bit about your educational experience once you got here to Canada?
Sure.
Okay.
So like we were just talking about plagiarism, I'd also like to add something on that. My experience was just for 2 months where I got here and then we had COVID. But for the college where I studied, they were really strict about, how we get our assignments done, how we do group work and stuff like that. And I was actually penalized once, not for some reason, I'm not even sure. Sometimes it's hard to tell what the expectations are, but I think it's always nice to be able to communicate with your professors to know what they want, and it absolutely aids your performance.
Perfect. Thank you. And, I think it's interesting to, Sean gave the definition of what plagiarism is. A lot of the students before coming here didn't know what that was. And when they did come and start doing assignments, a lot of them did get penalized. So it's important to know some of the terms here that are used when it's coming to the education system. So there's also a tip about creating a system that works for you. How many hours a day do you need to do homework, assignments, readings? Get to know yourself and which days you'll be able to work, rest, and socialize once you come to Canada. So again, I think time management is very important. And, Sean, Guneet, I'm going to also ask you to give your input on this because it's been maybe close to 20-something years since I was in school last. So it would be helpful. Sean, maybe getting your perspective. Do you have a routine? Do you do your when do you do your homework, readings, etc.? If you can tell the students a little bit about that.
So I've been very involved throughout my whole student life. I've joined lots of clubs, sports teams for my city, as well as just also keeping up my studies. So I would say first to get all your studies done, and then I think maybe more the time management aspect. You create more of the clubs and activities and maybe sports teams after, because I feel as like if you get all your studies done, you have that weight lifted off your shoulder. So there's room just for you to do other things that can help balance your, as you said, your social life, your maybe the fun aspect of your life. So yeah, I get my studies done and then I go on to do my other things in my life.
Okay, Guneet, how about you?
Sure. Technology. Yeah, so I agree with what Sean just said. I think it's very important to prioritize schoolwork. I totally agree with the 20 hours that the government has set, because I think because that's the only time you get to, extra time, at least with my course. Some courses are lighter than the others, but I think it makes more sense that you work only 20 hours, prioritize other things, so that you can create a balance. I'm sure there's a reason why 20 hours, because overworking wouldn't just affect your academic performance, but also your health down the line. So Yeah.
And that's important. I've had a lot of students that have worked with me and done their placement where they were working. So they'd go to school, finish school, and then go work in a factory or somewhere else. And they would sleep maybe 3 to 4 hours. And, you know, the long-term effects on that is not good. So it's good to prioritize and balance school, work, and sleep. Sleep is just as important as everything else. And so, you know, a lot of the times what I've heard is a lot of students choose to work on weekends because that they know that they're not going to have any school. They'll finish their assignments. So that way they can do those 20 hours. So the role of a student. Pick a program that you are dedicated and passionate about. This will help you stay engaged in the course and feel that you see in your future career. If you're having difficulties with assignments, understanding the course and readings, know that there are on-site staff and students that can help you. Don't be afraid to ask for help, especially at your college if they have the resources. Remember to sleep, very important. Eat and maintain a balance when you are in school. Unlike being at home to have a parent providing these necessities to you, like I remember while I was living at my parents', they would wake me up. Did you eat? Get up. You're going to be late for school. When you're here, you're going to be doing that by yourself, right? So it's going to be a little bit challenging to do it on your own, but it would be great to set that routine now before you come here. If you start to develop and know a routine prior to coming to Canada, it will make the transition smooth. Ask for help. Outside of asking for help with school and assignments, Sano and our mentors can help provide you support with getting used to your new life in Canada. We have two students here that are mentors with Sano, Guneet and Sean. So I think it's good to put a face with who's there to help provide support once you come here. So financial literacy. How much money can I afford every month? So feel free while I'm talking about this, Guneet and Sean, if you've got stuff to add, by all means. So once you get to Canada, you will have your money locked into a GIC. It's a guaranteed investment certificate. This is mandatory in order to get accepted as an international student. As far as my understanding, there's only 3 banks that you can have money with before you come here. It's ICICI, State Bank of Canada, and Scotiabank. So that money is there to help you with basic necessities, right? Your tuition is paid for the 2 years, maybe 2-year program that you have. This is to help cover for rent, food, etc. The 20 hours is additional to that, but this is to help you start and get settled here. What is a budget? So this might be the first time we're having a conversation about this, but it's good to know how much money do you need to spend on rent? How much money will you need to spend on food? Do you have bills? So the only bill, maybe you might have a few bills, but one of the bills that you're going to have is a cell phone bill. And the second would be if you're taking public transportation, right? You might need a pass, so like a monthly pass. So you have to budget for that. It's important to know how much money you can spend each month and what you do with any money you have left over. Some students have said that they need to send money back to India to their family. So you also have to budget that in. How much are you going to be sending back? And what kind of hours do you need to work so that you're not in debt? Okay, so I'll be talking a little bit about that later on, but this money management, we're only talking for a little bit of time. I feel like this should be 1 or 2 webinars just so that the students are prepared, that they're not incurring a lot of debt when they come here. Do you need a credit card? So I'm going to ask Sean and Guneet both if you both have a credit card or not. Guneet, yes. Sean, do you have a credit card? No. Okay. So what happens is once you get to college or university, I learned this firsthand. This is why I put this in the slide. I got to college and they all these tables set up during orientation week. Do you want a blanket? Do you want an iPod? Do you want AirPods? Great. Fill this application to get a credit card and you'll get a free blanket. You'll get all this free stuff. And you're like, oh, okay, great. I'm a student. I get free things. You get the credit card. no one explains to you that this is not free money. So I went to each table and got myself a credit card. I had 4 credit cards. I went, took my friends out to dinner, went to the movies. I was 19. No one had explained to me that this is not free money. So I'm putting all this money on these credit cards and the bill comes. That's great. I have $500 on credit cards, but do I have the $500 to pay it off? No. This is how you get debt. It's not free money. So a lot of the times when students go to their colleges during the first week, they're given these credit cards. Just be very careful. So I'm glad to say that if you don't have a credit card, you don't need to get one. I feel like this is something you should get at least 1 to 2 years after being in Canada. A lot of the times people say to build your credit. I learned this the hard way because I got into debt because of all these credit cards that I had. But to make my own credit here in Canada, because to get your credit, you need, if you want to get a car, even when you're renting an apartment, they're going to check your credit. So if you, let's say, have $500, you can go to the bank and say, I want to get a credit card to borrow against my own money. So if you have money saved, you're borrowing against your own money. So it's not borrowing from anybody else, okay? Another topic that's come up is, do you need a car right away? So we've been told by some of the students that they're told by some of the consultants that they need to get a car once they come to Canada. Guneet, do you have a car? Sean, do you have a car? Okay. So again, you don't need to get a car right away. If you think about it, getting a car, that's another bill that you have. And the car payments can be anywhere from $200 to $300 a month, all the way up to $800 a month. Then you have to pay for insurance. Then you have to pay for gas. And now it's snowing outside. You need to get winter tires, right? So all of these expenses add up, okay? So I know it's hard to take the bus. I took it for 20 something years of my life. But when you're graduating and when you have a full-time job, then you will know how much money you will make. And if you can afford car payments, the insurance, the gas, and the wear and tear on your car. Okay, so I'm actually going to ask Sean and Guneet, I want us to have like a conversation about this because I think this is important. So life skills. We want to talk about self-esteem. As for any young adult, there are a lot of outside factors that contribute to self-esteem, and you're looking to be accepted by your peers. Moving across the world to a new country, these issues are layered with all other things that students and young adults face. So we have a volunteer base of mentors that will be able to support us. But I wanted to talk to both Sean and Guneet, if you can talk about your experience. Sean, we'll start with you, but do you feel that there's a lot of peer pressure being a student going from high school to university? And if you're facing sort of peer pressure from your friends, what does that look like? And then Guneet, if you can share your experience coming to a new country and having to do with that.
So I would say high school, there's more peer pressure, but in maybe post-secondary, there's more social pressure. So finding a way to fit in as well, because within university, you see more, or college, you see more students from different parts of the world even, and you're trying to fit in to their norms. And it's different when you're in high school, you basically know everyone in the same community, I would say, because they're all from the same area. Well, in post-secondary, you have to find ways to fit in, and this could mean not the best things. Maybe substances aren't always the best thing to go to, but it's a lot of people do it just to fit in to social norms in post-secondary. So that's just what I feel that happens in post-secondary. It's not more peer pressure because no one's really telling you to do it. It's more you're trying to fit in towards the community that you were in.
Perfect. Thank you. Well said, Sean. Thank you. Guneet?
Yeah, I think I agree with Sean. So it's actually more social pressure also coming from another country. I think we have things like culture shock to face. We might not know what the expectations are, or we tend to incline towards what's more accepted in the society. Like Western culture is very different in terms of substances, like Sean said. So that's one way how people, or international students get into substances and then addiction. Or also, like I always say, it is a sort of an escape mechanism where people also want to feel better because they have so much to deal with all of a sudden in terms of responsibility, because they haven't really done that before. So I think it's very important for anybody to believe in themselves even before they do anything, or decide to come here, that they know what they're coming here for.
Mhm. Perfect. Well said. And it's just also important to know two things. Cannabis is legal here, and cannabis stores, there's more cannabis stores than convenience store or corner stores. So you can get access to it openly. And if students choose to take cannabis, there's other factors where people might be like, okay, I want to try something different because I've tried this, right? So there's a snowball effect to that. So you have to know yourself, what your self-control, and there's other ways to cope and deal with self-esteem and being in a new country and dealing with the peer pressure. Also, I think it's really important, and some of the students have laughed when I talked about this because I'm very vocal about this, but it has to do with social media. So social media is very influential to a lot of the younger generation, to a lot of students. Not everyone are the Kardashians. I can't stand the Kardashians. And that is not the standard which students should go to, right? There's a lot of plastic surgery and a lot of money that was spent for them to make themselves look that way. And I feel like loving yourself and knowing yourself first and foremost is important. Social media, there's filters. That's a different reality. So know that your own reality right now is what we focus on, not so much what everyone else is portraying on the outside. Also, who to trust. Students are rightfully cautious on who to trust prior to landing to Canada. Even students that are here have, you're going into a new atmosphere. College, university, as Sean mentioned, like you have your friends in high school, but once you get to college or university, everyone's new to you, right? So it's important to know who you can trust. Okay, so we talked about coping. If you're sad, depressed, or things are happening, what can you do to make you happy? What makes you happy? So some people listen to music, some people like dancing. I've never used TikTok, so people love TikTok, right? So TikTok could be something that people go to. It's like, oh, okay, you get to laugh at people's videos, etc. But that if you're having a sad day, or you're missing your family, or something's going on, what is it that makes you happy? Is it sports, reading books? There's options, but know what it is that makes you feel better. That's important to have as a coping mechanism before you come here. It's important when you're feeling overwhelmed, sad, or homesick, that you can take your mind off of what's going on through the moment. We have students such as Sean and Guneet. We have students that are mentors. So when you do come here and you're feeling homesick or you're feeling isolated, these students are there to help you kind of feel less sad and less homesick. But I think it's very important to know that you're not alone. Who do you feel comfortable with and trust? So have a routine when you're speaking to your family and friends back home. This will help you deal with being so far away. Even though you can't be there, you can help develop a pattern when you are in touch with them. It's also important to find friends who have similar interests as when you start going to school. So Sean, Guneet, I know, you have your friend circle, and Sean, and when you're going off to university, you might have friends that are going with you to the same university or not. But if you both can kind of share, I know Guneet's experience is she's made a really great friend from her experience in college. But if you can give at least one tip to the students about finding friends here and making themselves feel comfortable, and how do you trust that person?
So I would say that there are lots of clubs and groups that are correlated towards maybe your own culture and your own race. So there's a lot of Hindu, even Gujarati groups in universities, colleges, as well as many Indian society groups. So this helps maybe not even just international, but even domestic students find their own group and find common interests because, as I said before, you are in a new country. So this helps people find their own groups, as well as joining even sports clubs, because you can find people with common interests. You don't even have to join the, not even the school's team, but even intramurals, which is in-school play, which you face students in your school. So even that, as well, students will be in your class. That's also a common interest. And for me, there'd be students coming with me. I'm not sure if there'd be other international students, but even orientation day, you can try to make friends and just put yourself out there. As you can say, know who you can trust.
Exactly. Good. Guneet?
Right. Well put. What I'd say is take your time. As much as somebody might feel the best person for you right away, instantly, yes, you click with somebody, but still take your time to really see if you can be yourself, and you don't have to change yourself to be accepted by the other person. Right? I think that's very important. And that's when you start getting into other things that you don't want if you don't have the right person by your side. Be it academics, be it for fun, you really have to see how much your values and morals match to, because then only then it is going to be a durable relationship. Like Anu said, I have just one best friend that I rely on in these 2 years, but I think we stand up for each other and we do such great things together. We support each other and help each other grow. I think that's how we, after a point, that you can trust them and that they're good for you.
Perfect. And I also think that it's important to trust your instincts, right? When you're walking into a situation, does it feel right? If it doesn't, then go with that. Don't question that instinct. It's there for a reason. And, I think it's also key to know that there's an organization, as Sean mentioned, culturally specific. It's called the North American Association of Indian Students. Nice. So they actually have chapters in colleges and universities across Canada. And you don't have to be an international student. You can be a domestic student. And I think that's a really great concept, because it's good to have both, because, a lot of the international students can ask domestic students questions that they might not feel comfortable asking others. And that is the end of my presentation. I think we have some questions potentially. Oh, yeah, I think we do.
Okay, so I'll intervene here.
Okay.
Before I read out the questions, from the chat box, I was listening very intuitively to you and both Guneet and Shan. And I have a question for you, especially Shan, because you spoke about sports and you are volunteering as well. So does sports, volunteering and doing internships important if a student is planning to study in Canada and is coming to, like I said, from India to Canada?
Well, I know that internships are important for your program, but I would say sports and clubs are more oriented towards yourself and maybe bettering yourself and just helping yourself even get physical activity, or I know we talked about meeting friends, and this can be a great way, but internships are also important for your program as well. Because sometimes your program is required if you're taking co-op, which I know is a lot of programs have that in Canada. But yeah, clubs and sports teams are more oriented towards yourself and just bettering yourself, I'd say.
Okay. I think the students are listening to you and making a note of it. You also spoke about plagiarism. So is it a way that a student writes his essays for admission and, has a way to check if at all he'll be ticked off for it?
I know there's plagiarism checks online. Some may not be reliable, but I would make sure that for essays as well, you don't really need to use other sources to write your application essays. So I would say just go with your own words, because I know a lot of essays. You don't really need to further research from other sources.
Super. Thank you. Thank you for answering that question. Anu, I would like to ask a question because I know I was listening to Guneet, you know, she mentioned about the mental health part of it that she's volunteering for. And also you mentioned that, you know, students do get into a trap of the substances. So like Anu also mentioned, there's a credit card gimmick that is played around. So do you think that there is a way for students not to get trapped? Or how is it that they can, you know, rely or trust on somebody if they have got trapped into, to the extent of sex trafficking, which I've been reading around? So that's...
So I'll do my best to answer some of this, and then Guneet and Sean can step in too. So I didn't like this this particular session. I wanted to make sort of lighthearted because the other sessions that we've done have been very heavy. So there's a lot of scams that are happening, and I'm very transparent. A lot of the students are coming here to Canada with a mistrust for Indian people in general, just because they've been taken advantage from their consultant all the way to once they come here. So, you know, for instance, the credit card scam, so that a lot of the consultants are telling students to take a car loan because that's the only loan that they're going to get. Sorry, can you mute yourself? I'm not sure who's talking.
Yeah.
So
maybe the phone. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, so, you know, they're told once they get here to get a car loan because they're not going to get any other loans. So already they're coming here they're getting placed into debt, right? In terms of the mental health, so there's many layers as to what's happening with these students. Addiction is the quickest coping mechanism for them. So it might be drinking, it might be marijuana, but again, marijuana is a gateway drug, right? We've heard that a lot of students, especially after coming here, get depressed because the bills have piled up. There's not enough hours they can work. They're not doing well in school. All of this leads to addiction. And then the addiction affects the mental health more and more. So, you know, even the sex trafficking. So it's key to talk about this because you shouldn't wear rose-colored glasses, right? The grass is not always greener on the other side, right? So I think, in my opinion, is when I mentioned about keeping in touch with your family and friends back home, this is a way for the parents to see what is the pattern with my child. Is my child okay? They're not calling me every day. I think it's important for the parents to also know who the support system of their child is, because if they can't get in touch with their child, at least they know other friends that are there. I think some of the tips is don't get a credit card. Don't fall for these scams. If someone's saying that they're going to help you out and you don't know this person, go with someone that you know and that you trust, okay? The sex trafficking, a lot of the times students are coming here and they've never been in a relationship. Take your time. I'm not telling you not to be in a relationship, but take your time, because some of these girls are getting forced into sex trafficking because they think that this guy wants to be in a relationship with them, but the complete opposite is happening, right? You know, we have students that have lived experience that have been here. So if you even have a question like, listen, I'm talking to this guy, we can put out feelers, find out if this person has, you know, is not someone you can trust. If someone's telling you to sign a loan for them, standing outside of a bank telling you that they're going to give you some money, don't trust them, because there's also something else layered to that. So I hope I answered your question. Yes, but it's,
Yes.
don't trust people right away. As Guneet said, take your time. Don't be in a rush to trust what people are saying here.
Yeah, so that also brings me to another point, you know, because here in India, there's a lot of money that this parents spend on sending them abroad so that, you know, they have a good life there on. So that's also one of the pressures generally these students are into. So, you know, Guneet, would you want to comment on that? Maybe, you know, you have come across some students who have the family pressure, they have the self pressure and the peer pressure. So any of the cases that have come across to you, Guneet? as a volunteer?
So I'm so sorry. I don't know why this is happening. Yeah, so I actually work as a case manager here in the mental health and addictions program, and I deal with a lot of mental health and for youth and parents, in the sense how the family also gets affected eventually, right? So there is a lot. I mean, peer pressure, peer influence is a real thing, right? Not just with international students, but also among people here. So we cannot discriminate as to only international students get into it. It's also the availability, the easy access to things, not being able to handle or manage your emotions very well, not knowing the right coping mechanisms. I think it's a lot that comes together when we're talking about such things. With relationships as well. I mean, it's a very, very delicate, very vulnerable age when kids also come here or students come here. They don't know whom to trust, what's right for them. Also, because they need the emotional support, they just land up getting into things because then they think, yeah, at least they have somebody to rely on, not knowing if they're the right person or no.
Right.
So I think, sorry?
Yeah, sorry. Because this, what you just said, there's a question by Navjot. She says, when we should go to abroad, what is the right age to go abroad? Basically, she means that. So, that's for you.
My answer to that would be whenever you feel ready. Emotionally, physically, mentally, when you know that you're ready to take, or when you're making the right decisions, that's when you're ready. There's no specific age that I would say. Like, I was 23 when I got here. My best friend was 18 when she got here, but we're at the same level, with the same level of maturity, and that's what I love about her. There is no specific age, but it's just how you feel, how you do.
Right. We have Mr. Jagtar Singh Matharu here, who has 2 questions. So, Mr. Matharu, if I can request you to ask your questions to the panelist here, you could, spotlight Mr. Matharu if he's on here, my backend team.
Yes, hello. First of all, I would like to greet everyone. Yeah, hello, Guneet ma'am, Shan and Anu ma'am, and Harpreet ma'am. And I had 2 questions that are the professors accessible outside the class? I mean, if there are any barriers or something to get connect with the professors.
So I know that there are professor time outside of class. So some professors have specified times where you can go in and ask questions, even get help. But I know that there are professors that have time slots available throughout the week for you to go in, ask your questions, get some help.
Oh, okay, I got that. And my second question is, are classes more lecture based or discussion based? As you know, the studies in India are quite different than the studies of Canada.
Guneet, do you want to answer that?
Sure, I think it's both ways. Even though it's different, but things being online right now, it is only based on discussions, right? And that's how professors even get to know that you're there. And depending on the course, but what I'd say is participation is a key. You do get opportunities to talk and discuss about topics, ask questions. I think it's a great way to connect with your professor and your course once you start discussing in class without feeling hesitant or feeling, that people would judge you. I mean, you pay so much, it's your opportunity to learn as much as you want, right? So even if you are the one to initiate discussions anytime, given any course, I think you should always go ahead.
And I also think it's important to know that there's also teachers' assistants too, right? So a lot of the times the professor might not be accessible, but teachers' assistants have more open time where the students can approach them. And I think it also depends on the course that you do too. If it's, if you're in university, more lecture based, then you have labs longer, like maybe second year or third year. If you're in the college setting, it's more smaller classes, and it could be a format and mix of both.
We have Mr. Jasprit Singh. He has a question. So if Mr. Jasprit Singh is there with us, you could ask your question.
Hello everyone. So I was curious about the ways in which Guneet and Shan, what are your ways of learning? Because the way we do things in India is very different. What are your ways?
So for me, a lot of my ways is using textbooks as well. I know that textbook is an international thing, but studying from the textbook, as well as even going online and watching lectures, rewatching the lectures, and taking down notes, and then going to review my notes. And I think the best way to do a lot of the practical work is just to keep going at the questions and keep redoing them, even just rewatching the lectures and seeing what they are doing in class and just reviewing your understanding. I know Guneet has a lot to say as well.
Well, it's interesting that I have the same way to learn. I am a listener and a big time writer. Like, I like to listen and make notes when the class is going on. I think I absorb the most then. I am not a reader. I think it's when somebody talks to me or when I listen to lectures, when I watch videos. I think audio visual or just audio helps me more than anything. Also, because we're so used to looking at textbooks, I think that is one very convenient way to learn rather than watch screens and do electrical stuff where you're just reading things off your laptop. But I think some people are very comfortable with that. We all have our own ways. It's just that how you make the best of it, right?
Yeah. I don't see any more questions. So I will
Sorry,
still ask.
so Harpreet,
Yes.
there's one
Yes.
question that I think is really important. Jaspreet had asked, how much do international students spend on extravagant accessories such as clothes? So this is important. And, Sean, Guneet, please add in your tips too. Even though I was born and raised here, I only spend bare minimum on clothes. Even if I have the money, I think it's just how I was raised. You don't live beyond your means. I went shopping yesterday to buy myself something, and I haven't bought myself something in years. And I looked at the price tag. If it's more than $30, I don't buy it. Jeans, top, it doesn't matter. And I think it's knowing what your budget is. So do I have the money? I do. Do I need it? No. So I have this rule that if I buy something for myself, such as clothes, do I have something like it? I will get rid of something before I buy something new. Okay. And there's Polo, there's Guess, there's Gucci. Fantastic. I'm sorry. I'm from the same brand as Diljit Dosanjh, but I don't own anything Gucci related. Okay. I don't think I ever will. So knowing that, hey, H&M and all of these clothing lines are affordable, yet they're stylish, that's how you should be spending your money. And like we talked about a budget, allocate some money. Maybe once every couple of months you want to buy yourself a new outfit, great. But make sure it's within how much money you have. Guneet, Sean, those are my tips. So
Yeah, of course, there are financial advisors available in school to help you allocate towards a budget. But as well, you have to know yourself, because the financial advisors are not always going to be with you when you're making financial decisions, such as buying clothes. But I would say that there's no one's forcing you to maybe buy the more expensive clothes. I think personally that H&M as well is not expensive, but it gets the job done. It's stylish, it's comfortable, it has everything there. So H&M is also a store I recommend. Even Walmart has clothes available. They have tons of clothes, and it's not expensive as well. Because in Canada, you're going to need a lot of sweaters as it is cold and snowing. So jackets at Walmart, sweaters at H&M is just great places to find clothes for not too much, as you said.
Yeah,
Or-
Guneet, anything?
My opinion on that is I had a set budget, or I would only buy something for myself when I wanted to feel rewarded, when I accomplished something. I mean, we all deserve that. Thrift stores is an option here, right? I mean, it might be uncomfortable, but once you get used to it, it's a great way to really, have your budget in place and still have the options to buy something. I go by H&M any day, any day. I think it's one great store here. With I think budgeting is a very, very important aspect. I mean, your needs and greeds are two different things. Needs and wants, needs and greeds, at least for the initial period, it's very important that you recognize what your needs are, how much you can invest where. And then, I mean, you have all the time, lifelong to get what you want to get. I mean, it's never going to be enough.
True. We have a question from Jaspreet. Jaspreet, would you want to ask them a question that you've put in the chat box?
Okay, yes, I would. So my question was, how much credit should I complete in my first semester? For example, many students go on with 21 credits, which is quite a burden in the first semester. So how much credit should I go on with?
Guneet, do you want to answer this?
So credit in, my goodness. So credit in terms of the courses, right?
Yes, yes.
Right. Well, I got here after a master's. My best friend got here after like high school. I think you have courses available for what you've done back home, and accordingly you can come in. Credit wise, I cannot give you exact, or I'm not very aware of what course or what college offers what courses and what given credit. But for what I know, there are different courses allotted for different educational backgrounds that you have back home.
Shan, would you like to add on?
Go ahead, Sean.
Oh, I think, yeah, as Guneet said, that it varies by different programs and universities and colleges. So you'd have to speak with your university or college about that, because I know that, yeah, it does vary.
Yes, it depends from university to university. So your counselors will be the best people to guide you. You also asked, what should I refrain myself from packing while coming to Canada in winters? Oh my God.
I can answer this. Actually, you know what? It's important. This is a very valid question.
Valid question, yes.
Yes. So if you're coming here during the winter, any sort of light clothing, like we layer here. So for instance, it's -3 degrees Celsius. There's no wind chill. So what we do is it gets warmer sometimes during the day. So if you have like a light, let's say a t-shirt, and you put a sweater and then you have your winter coat, then you can also take your sweater off, it gets warmer. So not packing shorts for the winter, but t-shirts and layers, like even like we talked about H&M, we talked about other, like even thrift stores, they have like light down-fill jackets that are reasonable. It's not a bulky jacket, but it still keeps you warm. So I think that's key. Hats, mothers always say, make sure you wear a hat, make sure you wear gloves and scarf. We think we're too cool to wear it, but it helps you, because when it gets really like -35, having hats and gloves and scarves will keep you warm.
As well, frostbite can occur, because frostbite is something that's very common here in Canada, because people they take this too lightly. They say that, oh, I'm too cool for gloves, or I don't want to wear gloves, hats, mid-scarves. It is very important to wear that so you don't get this frostbite, which is it hurts. It just,
True.
This is why everyone wears a lot of winter clothes.
Absolutely. I don't think so. We have any more questions. But then, yes, the last question from my side, how does being part of Suno community help students?
So I always put Guneet on the spot with this, and Sean, you're gonna get familiar with me putting you on the spot too. So the Suno community, we started it because we found out that there's not a lot of organizations to help students once they come here. We wanted to create a safe space for students. So a lot of the students come here they are taken advantage of from the moment that they land at the airport. So we want to be that organization that helps them from the point that they get to the airport all the way up to when they graduate, they get their PR, that we want to know that we can help them if they need resources, they need lawyers, they need a job, they need a place to stay, they need tiffin service. We want to make sure that we are helping them out. It's free of cost for them. They need mental health counseling, they need addictions counseling. We are there to be that face and that organization to support them. The reason why I said I'd put Guneet and Sean on the spot is I would like both Sean and Guneet to kind of say how did they connect with Suno? So I'll start with Sean first and then Guneet.
So Suno has helped bring me closer towards my own culture, as well as finding the differences and similarities, as well as showing others that Canada is not this big place, that it's actually very cultural based. We have a lot of multiculturalism here, and I want to show others that it's important to learn about Canada before you come here, so you can connect with its culture, its diversity, as well as connect with your own culture and diversity, and bring your own culture and diversity over to Canada, because as I said, we are multicultural. And I also want to help people maybe find themselves, because even me, myself, I'm still stressed for post-secondary school and university. So I want to help others relieve their stress and make them more comfortable with coming to Canada. So yeah.
So nice. Very nice. Yes, Guneet.
Right. So why and how I connected with Suno is because I connected with Anu almost a year and a half back, and I always wanted to do something with her because she had such great energy to share. And I also got hired like in the same. So we have a South Asian community service provider where it's Punjabi Community Health Service. Punjabi Community Health Services, that's the PCHS. And knowing that, I think seeing so much in terms of mental health, experiencing so much on my own, I think this is a great opportunity as international students to be able to identify the needs that international students have and fill those gaps as much as we can. Having somebody like Anu who's so rich in experience and resources, I think it was the best way that anybody could, connect with Suno. I think we have a lot to offer, like, just as one organization. We just want to give international students a base, a safe, trustable, dependable, reliable source wherein, they can just fall back on, and we will be there to help them.
That's so nice.
And Harpreet, any of like the seminars going forward, we're actually think of inviting some of our partners, educational institutions, other organizations that are helping out, just so that the students know that there's other folks behind the scenes that are helping Suno.
Yes, because that's something very important, because here in India, even we are into something similar. So, the transparency, the talk that the students will hear, it's going to be very, very beneficial for them. I have Dayajit who wrote that, ma'am, I have a question. So Dayajit, you can go and ask your question right away.
Hello, am I audible, ma'am?
Yes.
First of all, hi Anu ma'am, hi Shan, and Sashika, Arpreet ma'am, and Guneet. My only question is, what are the problems that we haven't discussed in the last 1 hour? The general problems that international students face. So if you could just put some light on it, so it could be helpful, yeah.
So there are significant amount of suicides that are happening within our community, which is why we started Suno, because as a community, I'll speak personally, when I found out that there was at least 3 to 5 suicides that were happening a month of Indian international students, it broke my heart. And to know that our community, this is happening and no one's doing anything about it, I feel like that was one of the key reasons why we started this organization. These students should not feel like they are alone, that there's people that are here to help them. So that is a key issue that's happening with the students. There's drugs, there's mental health. I know in some parts of Canada, instead of suicides, and I think the two are going to be related, a lot of students have gone missing. So this is in British Columbia, where the students, just every day, I'm hearing more and more have students gone missing. And I feel like I know what the end result of that is, that they've probably taken their lives. But this is a huge crisis that's happening. And I feel that that's why it's important that we do these webinars prior to students even thinking about coming to Canada.
Very important. We have Jaspreet Singh asking a question, then we have Rajeshri Datta, our ED, asking you a question. So Jaspreet, go ahead.
Okay. I was asking if you can give examples of how Indian community helps international students coming from India. In what ways do they help?
So feel free to jump in, Gunita, Sean, but I know that the people that we've partnered with, I've been here my whole life. So I've reached out to people that I know that are active in the community. So for instance, one of my friends owns a few hotels really close to the Toronto airport. I told him the work that we're doing. He has a reduced cost of hotel rooms for students, and there's a shuttle service to pick them up from the airport. This is key. I always ask every student I meet, an international student, was there someone there at the airport to pick you up? Some students are abandoned from the first time that they get here. So I wanted to eliminate that. My friend has organized a shuttle service. So when the students come here, they're in a hotel, there's tiffin service. Desi khana, whether you're veg, non-veg, delivered to you every day, right? There's people that have started providing mattresses and furnitures for students. So if they come here, they don't have enough money to get themselves settled. There's that, but it's first come, first serve. Ideally, and I'm an eternal optimist, I want to start a furniture bank and a clothing bank for our students, and reach out to the community for them to donate so that the students can actually have, from the moment they get to the airport, they get to a hotel, they find a place, they're in school, every step of the way, we will have connected them with the community. And also, great question, Jaspreet, but I feel it's also providing awareness to the community, because the community provides such negative feedback about what the students are doing here, and we want to change that.
Yes. We have Dr. Rajeshri Datta here who has a question. Doctor.
Hi everyone. Hi Anu. Hi Shan. Hi Guneet. Hi ma'am. All of you are looking so wonderful and got to know so much. So I have just two questions. Would also like, the first question is, I would like to know from the perspective of parents as to what kind of preparedness they should have for, for sending their children to Canada or any other foreign countries that the child chooses to go to, A, and B, we always have this impression that we should be sending our children to particular, a few major cities of a particular country. So how true is it?
So I'll start with the latter question first. So the three major cities here in Canada are Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal. Okay. So since 2015, even before that, a lot of international students from India has doubled, tripled, even quadrupled. And a lot of those cities have become saturated with international students. So for them to get on track to PR is becoming more and more challenging. Okay. So even though the community is large in those three cities, our community is, I jokingly, we're everywhere. Anywhere in the world, we're there. So any of the other provinces have, the community is there as well. But in order for them to get on track quicker for their PR, a lot of the students, even though they came to Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver, are now going to less populated cities and provinces. To answer your first question, so I'm going to be as candid again as possible. So a lot of the students that are coming here are coming with the pressure of culture shock, coming to a new country, being isolated, but the pressure of PR so that they can bring their family over. So I'd like, my request for the parents is eventually that might be the end goal, but don't make that a pressure right from the beginning. I think it's just, it's not even at the back of their mind. I think it's the first thing. I have to bring my family over. I have to bring my family over. And I think it's important to remember when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, right? Did you have that expectation to carry the burden of your family on your shoulders? If you weren't, don't put the same pressure on your children. That is me being candid and very truthful. I also feel like the preparedness from the parents is that I mentioned before that if you talk to your kids, make sure you talk to them, there's a pattern, right? So for instance, I left home, I had never been away from my parents. I talked to them every day. They knew that when I didn't call them for a day or 2 days, that something was wrong. So it's a way to keep track that your child is fine, but also know who their support system is, who is in their network. Because if you can't get hold of your child, then there's somebody else there. Also, and I'm going to stop because I know that, you know, I'd like Sean and Guneet to add here too, but I think it's important. Don't expect your family and your relatives to help out. Right? So when I mentioned that some of the students were told your Masi or Jaya, Jachi or Daya, someone's going to pick you up from the airport, they don't show up. So these students are abandoned from the moment that they get here. Right? So don't take people's word per se, unless you know that they're going to help you out. It would be great to have your child from the moment that they get here, that they're set up outside of the family. And I'll say this in Punjabi, apna rishta kharab nahi karna, right? Like you don't want to ruin that relationship. So let's start it off in the beginning that the student is taken care of outside of the family so that other layer of burden is not put on them.
Perfect.
Yes. I think, Anu, you rightly said that the first pressure is to settle the family. That's the motive. So yeah, you're very right. So intention has to be very clear with the parents while they're sending them abroad. I have Navjot who wants to ask a question. So Navjot, over to you. She's very eager to ask a question. Navjot, if you're there. Or would you want me to call out? Okay, I'll read out her question. She says, some say that after +2, we don't get our own courses, but after graduation, we can get. Please discuss about this. I don't know whether, is this a counselor's?
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Okay.
Actually, I am in +2 class, so I want to come up with psychology. So I want to go abroad. I don't know. I should go to Canada or Australia. I don't know about that. So some say that after +2, some courses are not available for psychologists, but after graduation we can get easily. Is it right, or I don't know?
And I would talk with the program itself at the universities or colleges you're applying to. So say you want to go to Australia or Canada, there'd be universities that have maybe the programs you're looking at. And then you would have to ask them as well, because again, even for the program and the courses, it varies. So you would have to ask, the institution itself.
Yes, I think, Guneet, would you want to say something? Yes.
All right. So when you're picking courses for yourself, we usually go to agents. They do have a whole list of courses to give you, right? It's great that you know where you want to go, the field that you want to choose. Even after +2, you do have diplomas that act like bridges to your bachelor's, or, even before you want to get a bachelor's, you want to see what works best for you. That's exactly why you have diplomas, even after +2 or however. There are courses related to psychology. It's just that they are divided into special or specific courses. Like I took a diploma in mental health and addictions. So did my best friend. So, I mean, it really depends as to what you want to do. There are options available. It's always nice to research really well as to what are your best options. There are opportunities, there are options. It's based on what you're looking for.
Right. There is one question from Jasprit Singh. I'll just read out quickly because we are overshooting our time. What mistakes do international students make while connecting with natives? how to build cordial, open relations with natives there.
So Jaspreet, I don't want you to think of this as a negative, right? Like, don't think of it as a mistake. There's no mistakes. Okay. A lot of the, and Sean, you can add to this too if you like, but I feel it's just, again, knowing who you can trust and who you feel comfortable with. You know, sometimes I know that there's an international student and I'll go to them and say, hey, my name's Anu, here's my card. They just look at me like, who's this woman trying to connect with me? But know that there's people that are generally there to help you. And, you know, there's a difference in even between domestic and international students here, right? So some students maybe have some domestic students have never been to India, right? So there's sort of cultural stuff that happens in India that doesn't happen here, right? Like I'll make this really short, but when I went to India 11 years ago, I went with my cousin and we were going through one of the cities and they're like, oh, look at the Gora Gori walking around, right? And we turned around and realized they were talking about us. And, you know, it's kind to figure out, okay, you don't fit, you look like everybody else, but you don't belong. And I think the same goes on either end of the world, right? So it's trying to figure out how you fit in when you start feeling comfortable in your own skin. And just feel like if you want to ask a question, know that it's okay to ask a question. So there's no mistakes.
Even as a domestic student, I still feel like that because there are international students and sometimes it can go both ways, as Anu said. And I feel like there is a barrier sometimes between connecting within the international, even within my own community. Even going to Mandirs, I still see that I'm not up to date with everything that is happening in the world, especially in culture. And I feel like it can go both ways as well. So I would just say to know who you can trust and just to understand who you are and who you are going to be around.
Yes. Guneet, anything from your side?
I think I'd go back to what Anu initially said. Learn to love yourself first, right? It's never about other people. Right? It's the way you feel about yourself and how you perceive the world around you. Yes, you might feel that, you know, you're in a new place, new people, they look different, we look different, but trust me, they have their own experiences and we have our own.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
it's your journey, your moment. Enjoy it.
Yes. With permission of Dr. Rajeshri, there is one question I would like to ask on behalf of Jagtar Singh. He says, can students manage his or her expenses without using gig only by doing 20 hours a week?
So I feel like the answer is yes, but you have to be able to budget yourself. And for instance, like we've even created a list, you know, when you go grocery shopping, there's 2 grocery stores. There's No Frills and Price Chopper or Food Basics, right? Like there's ones that are very reasonable. Don't go to Metro, don't go to the Sobeys because you're spending through almost double the amount of money on food that you would be if you're going to the other grocery stores. So absolutely it's manageable, but you have to know where to go shopping and where to buy these things. Like we talked about H&M, right? Yes. So yes, you can absolutely do that. And Guneet, Sean, I feel like if you want to add anything.
In case you guys want to add something.
Yes, GIC is enough.
Oh, you're muted, Guneet.
Guneet, unmute yourself.
Okay, it said the host muted me, so wasn't sure what happened. All right, no, I think I totally agree with what Anu said, that, you know, you need to find out the best stores for you. You have flyers available online for various grocery stores. You can always go check where you're getting the best deals and, you know, where you're spending the least in terms of grocery, because that's somewhere you cannot compromise also because it's your health and other expenses as well. I mean, budgeting is the key, really. But yes, I've managed to with 20 hours of work with GIC, and it also depends as to how your GIC is coming out. I think it comes out in installments, and every bank has a different way to do it. So yeah.
Yeah.
I would even. Oh.
Yes, Sean.
Oh yeah, I would even say there are flyers even and newsletters that you can sign up with your email so you can get the best deals. Even places like Shoppers Drug Mart, which is a pharmaceutical establishment that has groceries there as well. You can go, as Anu said, No Frills, which has deals, and even for things like electronics or like clothes, there are newsletters you can subscribe to for free with your email, where you can get cheap electronics like headphones. Even we had Black Friday the other day, where we're able to get cheaper clothes and whatnot.
It's manageable.
So
It's
yeah,
all
it was very
manageable.
cool.
How you manage yourself. All right. So before we have our own, the closing remarks from the guest, the panelists, and from myself, I would like each one of the students, parents, whoever is present in this session, please switch on your cameras. As I said in the beginning, we want to capture these lovely moments. So switch on your cameras. It won't.
Ma'am, they won't be able to switch on the camera. I'll just promote them from attendees to panelists, then they'll be able to switch on the camera.
Sure.
Just 1 minute.
Please
Just
do
1
that.
minute.
Yes. So just give us a minute. The backend team will just get you on board and we'll request you all to switch on your cameras. And do not forget to smile. It's all the youngsters here. So,
It's a request from everybody. Kindly accept it. Once we promote you to the panelist, you get an option to yes for yes or no.
So you have an option. Please press yes. And you'll be taken in. You'll have the rights to switch on your cameras. Very nice. Oh, we finally see Mr. Jagtar Singh Mataru. You have so many questions. I thought you almost have flown to Canada. I almost thought so. Just on the lighter side. Anshu, you can give us the heads up once you've clicked us, and then
actually, I've given everybody the permission, but many of them aren't accepting it yet.
Oh, they're not accepting it. Okay, so guys, please accept. Anshu is struggling to get your yes. Are we good to go, Anshu?
Yes, nearly. Just a second. I'll just remove everybody from the spotlight. Then we can see everyone at
Absolutely.
one.
I can see a lot of them on my screen at the moment because I switched on to the gallery mode. So yeah. I have everyone right in front.
Vineet, if you can exit the spotlight mode, it would be helpful. I'm unable to find the option to remove you. So sorry.
We're done? Super. All right, so before we have our closings, I would like to ask all the students and parents who are present here, you could just type it in the text box how you felt about the session. Was it beneficial? Do you think all your questions were answered? You could just quickly type it in the chat box so we know that, the time that we all spent together was very meaningful. Because from my side, I think so many questions have been answered. I was with a whole stock of questions for Anu, Ashan, and Guneet. Thank you for answering my questions on behalf of the students. Of course, as the closing remarks go, Anu, would you like to close this? Then at the end, I would do that.
Absolutely. I wanted to thank all the students, their parents, Punjabi Chamber of Commerce, and the Global Youth Squad, Guneet and Sean, for participating today. Suno is something that's really close to my heart, and I feel that if we can provide any sort of tips, assistance, advice for students before they come here, we are accessible. You can reach out to us. Our website is sunocharity.com. We're on Instagram at Suno Canada. For those that didn't feel comfortable asking questions here, know that we're checking that constantly. And we're here to help you, and even with the parents, to provide support and advice. So this is great. I'm so glad to be able to have given this platform to do this. And you know what? You can always reach me. I'm on LinkedIn too. Feel free to message me. I'll help as much as I can. So thank you, Harpreet ji.
Thank you, Anuji. Thank you. Guneet, would you want to say your closing remarks?
First of all, thank you for having us. Thank you, Anu, for this opportunity. And yes, don't feel hesitant to reach out. This is one way you can be more prepared to do, what you have to do for your new life, most likely. And what I'd like to say is this was a great experience. I think it's an honor to be able to connect with people who are preparing, and then they put in so much trust, in what we're saying, and we're there to guide you. So please, we're here for you, and make the best out of it. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Sean?
Even as Jaspreet said, no one tells you the things that we have told. We're more on a personal base, even telling you all that from our own experiences, from me and Guneet's experiences, we can let you guys know what you're expected when you're coming to Canada, and to help you feel more comfortable. So thank you.
I'm so glad to hear such closing remarks. From my side, being part of the PCC family, I'm very much sure, any one of you who lands up into Canada and you are connected to ANU and PCC, I'm sure, as part of GYC, you can be rest assured you'll be taken care of. My only last point here to each one of you youngsters would be, you have to be responsible towards yourself, then to your family, and then to the nation where you're going, because you're representing India. So please be very, very responsible. Thank you so much, Anupma ji, Sean, Guneet, on behalf of PCC. I would like to, extend a very warm thank you to you for such an enlightening session. And, these questions that we were bombarding, you were so happily answering. I'm so happy that, you picked up every point, from talking about plagiarism to life skills, money management, to peer pressure, social networking, social media. There's so much that you guys have spoken. Thank you very much. I would also like to thank the administration team, especially Anshu, Akash, and special mention to Dr. Rajshri Datta for, inviting me to, coordinating the whole of this. It's always a pleasure to be on a platform and getting connected to youngsters and eminent people like Anupma. Thank you all very much, and take care of yourself. Have a lovely weekend. All the very best.
I would like to add something over here. Like, this is just the first episode. We have the next 2 webinars lined up, and the dates will be announced soon. So would like everybody to join back then. And would also like to ask your friends to join us.
Yeah. Thank you, Anshu, for adding on. Thank you.